folks, the Filipina P here. And today I'm going to explain the real attraction that many Filipinas have for foreigners. Now the first thing a lot of you are going to say is, money, money, money. We've all heard it before, and yes, it's a prime motivator, just like it is for women in your own country. But it's only one part of the puzzle. If I claim the only reason foreigners chose Filipinas was sex, 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 you'd probably say, wait a minute, that's not the only reason. And you'd be right, it's not. So if it's not just a question of cash, why do so many Filipinas prefer a foreign mate, even a much older one? Well, fortunately, you guys have some secret weapons that you're not even aware of that give you an advantage compared to a lot of local men. And no, I'm not talking about this either. Apart from money, some of you think this is what you bring to the table that sets you apart. And while it's certainly a nice bonus, it's not even close to the top of the list. So if you're standing there, looking at yourself in the mirror, and wondering how a beautiful young woman could possibly see you as anything besides an ATM with a banana, let me explain the reasons why some Filipinas find you guys so darn attractive. Now, I hate to keep repeating this all the time, but if I don't, someone's gonna make the comment that not all Filipinos are like that, not all foreigners are like that, not all local guys act that way. And yes, obviously I know that, but I can't very well describe a billion Westerners and tens of millions of Filipinos without generalizing. Just because you know someone that doesn't fit the mold, doesn't mean that these points aren't true, generally speaking. In fact, some Filipinos aren't drawn to foreigners at all. Their families might not approve, they might not be comfortable with Westerners, or maybe they just don't find you attractive. Everyone has their preferences, which is a good thing. If Filipinas were only interested in 6-foot-tall, 30-year-old doctors, then we'd be Western women. But fortunately for you, we're not. Sure, a pile of cash is attractive, and let's face it, the more, the merrier. But the feeling of security that a woman desires goes much deeper than that and has many different forms. So what makes us feel secure? Lots of things. And most of you foreigners provide them without even realizing it. To use the most obvious example, your size. Generally speaking, you guys are a lot bigger than local men. And as any woman can tell you, it's nice to have a larger guy on your arm, just in case there's trouble ahead. When you were in high school, maybe you envied the taller, bigger guys who always seemed to get the girls, even though there wasn't anything special about them. You might have been smarter, funnier, but that just didn't seem to matter. Well, here, you are that guy, and if you're smart and funny too, that's even better. And when there's a weird sound at night, who do you think will feel safer with? Barney Fife or Vin Diesel? But that's just the physical side of feeling secure. Where you guys really shine is in your attitudes about getting things done. Even the foreigners that come here to retire are considered ambitious by local standards. Unlike many locals, you don't just sit around with your chin in your hand saying, "Bahala na," which means come what may. You're always trying to figure out how to make tomorrow better than today. You must be ambitious if you actually think you can get more than 2 things done in a day here. I knew this one guy that had only been here a few days, and he pulls out this long list of errands and appointments. At 9 a.m., he was gonna do his grocery shopping. At 10, he was supposed to go to the doctor to get his tetanus and other shots. At noon, he was gonna go look at motorbikes and then see a real estate agent to help him find an apartment. I just looked at him like he was crazy and explained that you can't get that much done in a day in the Philippines, maybe not in a whole week. But that's just the way you guys are. Always going, going, going. It might be funny from the perspective of a Filipino, but as a woman, I like that about you. Having a man who's always looking ahead is a sign of good things to come. Another big factor in our attraction is that you tend to be so much more worldly. Even the foreigners that haven't traveled that much. You've often been exposed to a wealth of knowledge that we haven't, so you're interesting to talk to. For educated Filipinas or those who are just naturally curious, being with a foreigner can make you feel like you've been living in a box all your life. The conversations among locals usually center around food, work, and things we encounter in our daily routines. We rarely talk about things outside our own neighborhoods, so it's not exactly stimulating conversation. But educated Westerners often see the big picture. They know how the world works, and they can usually converse about anything from geopolitics to philosophy. Never a dull moment. Now I know you're thinking, give me a break. Those foreigners are just full of crap, exaggerating their past accomplishments and throwing out a bunch of BS. I'm not only talking about what you say, but how you say it. I'm talking about the way your minds work and your accumulated knowledge of the world. Believe it or not, that's very sexy. And it makes a Filipina feel like she's with someone that knows what to do in any situation. For example, have you ever noticed that many Filipinos have no clue what to do in an emergency? Like if someone passes out, they probably just shake him really hard or run to get help from someone else that has no clue. There's a much better chance that a Westerner knows exactly what to do. Put the person on their back, elevate their legs, and check for breathing. If they're not breathing, start CPR, which is something almost no Filipinos know anything about. Call me a bigot, but I feel secure being with someone who knows how to help me if I have an accident, or at least has a clue. It's one of those times where an older foreigner knows how to put their life experience to good use. Another example is your financial knowledge and habits. You know how to stay out of debt, not to waste money, and in a lot of cases, you teach us how to make our own. Compared to Filipinos, you're natural-born financial advisors, which means you probably won't be spending all your money on red horse and bar fines. And believe me, around here, it's a big plus. Which is another way of saying that you're a very competent people. You're independent, not clutching your mama's apron when you're 20. Western men are rugged individuals. Men that pride themselves on being able to handle their own problems. At least your generation was. As far as this new crop of young Western guys, no comment. But believe me when I say, that's another very attractive trait. A lot of local guys are hopelessly dependent on their mothers, well into adulthood, and there aren't many things less sexy than that. And being competent means you like to fix problems, permanently. Not just sweep them under the rug so you can deal with them again tomorrow, even something as mundane as a leaky faucet. A Westerner will probably go to the hardware store, buy the right parts, and fix it properly. End of problem. A Filipino guy is more likely to ask you for the chewing gum out of your mouth and expect you to be impressed with his ingenuity. That's because we have the philosophy here of good enough. If something just barely works, it's good enough until it breaks again, and the process starts all over. Whether it's power lines or the wheels on a shopping cart, if it performs well enough to prevent society from collapsing, it's good enough for us. But again, being with a guy who aggressively handles problems makes a woman feel like he's looking out for her too. And we're all about feeling secure. If you don't know this, you don't understand Filipinas. Generally speaking, Western guys are also very caring. I'm not talking about getting us a present on our birthdays or remembering our 4-month anniversary. I'm talking about the little things that are actually the big things. You might see us with a pained expression and immediately ask what's wrong. When we answer that we have a headache, you're already halfway to the bottle of aspirin. And before we know it, there's a soft pillow and blanket laid out on the couch for us to relax and close our eyes. When we feel bad, you feel bad. And instead of just giving us sympathy, you try to fix it. Just like a Filipino would if you had an ache or pain. Now to some of you, that might sound like beta behavior, but nothing sexier than a strong, mature man that also shows he cares. That makes us feel double safe. And for a Filipina, your maturity equals security. It means you're less likely to suddenly announce that you've become a Tibetan Buddhist or pull an Arnold and run off with the maid. To some Western women, you might sound boring, predictable, and set in your ways. But to a Filipina, that's just music to our ears. And so far, I've just been talking about how you make us feel secure. But there are a lot more reasons why we're attracted to you and to our relationship with a Westerner. Here's one I bet you never thought of. You don't usually burden us with your families. When a Filipina marries a local guy, she often has to deal with his family, just like you have to deal with ours. Imagine finding a Filipina with very few family ties, no mother-in-law, no meddling sisters, no one that you're responsible for supporting. Well, that's what you are for us. It's like finding an orphan Filipina. Even when you have families back home, it's a lot easier than dealing with one that lives in the same town or right next door. As I mentioned, Filipino guys are often heavily influenced by their moms, and it's really no fun feeling like you have two sets of parents you have to please. But the benefits of a relationship with a Westerner don't end there because you have a few personality traits that make being with you a lot of fun. Generally speaking, you often have a great sense of humor. Okay, so we don't get a lot of your jokes, but it doesn't matter because a laughing, smiling person is always pleasant to be around. Even a dry, sarcastic sense of humor takes intelligence, which is sexy and attractive too. Westerners are typically very fair, and you're more likely to think about an argument and say, you know, you were right. Try getting understanding or an apology from a local guy whose immediate defense mechanism is to show you why he's right and blame the problem on someone else. Both parties know what he's doing, but it's this game that Filipinos play. A local guy could rob a bank, get caught on 9 different CCTV cameras with nothing covering his face, and it's still just deny, rather than admitting he did something wrong. By the way, that actually happened here not too long ago. Anything to save face. So it's really refreshing to be with someone that believes in personal responsibility and accepting your faults, which is the way you were raised in the West, until recently. And when we're with someone like that, it starts to make us open up more and be more honest in the way we deal with you. You also tend to be more loyal. Sure, there are foreign players, but we know how to spot them just as easily as you spot any Filipina bad apples. The fact is, most of you guys headed to the Philippines aren't just looking for a sexual playground. Oh, you'll take a few spins on the carousel once you escape the West and realize you have options here that you never had back home. But the ones who actually stay here are looking for someone permanent. You're at that stage of your life where spending the next 30 years with a loving, devoted, beautiful woman just ticks off every box on your wish list. And the thought of chasing young girls forever just isn't what motivates you. By contrast, local men have no problem leaving a woman who's pregnant, having affairs with co-workers, and basically just getting it wherever they can. Do Western guys cheat? Sure. And in your home countries, maybe you cheat a lot. But the kind of guy that settles here permanently is usually kept so busy by his Filipina that he doesn't have the energy or desire to look elsewhere. We know what we're doing in that department. On the whole, Western guys have the reputation of cheating far less than locals, and that gives you an obvious advantage. Many Filipinas have experienced firsthand what it feels like when a local says he loves you, makes plans for a life together, and then runs off to the next woman. Yes, foreigners do that too, but not nearly as often. And finally, no matter what you may think, many of you are physically appealing to us Filipinas. You're exotic looking, and everyone knows that the grass is always greener when it's in someone else's yard. We don't see people like you every day, so it makes you more distinctive. The same thing is true when you bring a Filipina to the West. Chances are, she gets her fair share of attention too. Now I'm sure I'm gonna hear the same old thing in the comment section. Filipinos don't want to look at a broken down old man. And you're right. But that's not what most of us see when looking at most of you. I know that's hard for you to accept because you come from a very different culture. But here, a mature person is far more than just physical appearance. You're the sum of your experiences, and that can make you attractive. There are plenty of reasons to date a foreigner. It's not just about cash and bananas. You're the whole package with a nice package. But if you still think it's only about money, I wouldn't even try to change your mind. I'll just let everyone else know the truth as they see it. Well, that's it for today. I hope I showed you a different perspective, and I'll be back in just a couple days. You can count on it. Till next time, folks.
You know how cute I always thought you were.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like your lifeguard, keeping you from drowning in a sea of doubt about life in the Philippines. I won't let you just dive right into the deep end without informing you about our culture and customs. And you can always count on me to take care of all the little details along the way. What is that in the pool? All right, everyone, out of the pool, out of the pool! Now we're gonna have to shut it down for weeks and get a hazmat crew in here, damn it! Oh my God, this is so disgusting. Which one of you subscribers did that?